Chirp chirp. Welcome back to the Pathway Podcast. For students, by students. We are here to teach you everything from resume to the first day. I'm Ashley Reed.
I'm Avery Troxel.
I'm Julia Henn.
And I'm Ashana Montgomery.
And we're Ball State students taking Marketing 405 Digital Brand Content Strategy. In every episode, we tackle the challenges, concerns, and questions that college students may have during their internship or their job search process. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing resume basics and just how a well-crafted resume can help you stand out to interviewers. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. First, we're going to talk about Resume 101, just resume basics. There's so many different resources out there for resumes. It can be really confusing and conflicting for you to know just even where to begin. There's so many online resources, so many resources that Ball State offers and resources that we talk about in class. It can just be really overwhelming. So we're going to give you just some of our best tips for resume and professional communication and things like that. So number one, it's super important to be really professional in your resumes, the language that you're using, how your design is set up. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But you really just want to make sure that your resume is a really professional representation of yourself, because it's going to be a really good way to stand out to recruiters or potential employers or anything like that. After today's episode, you should be able to have like a basic understanding of what information should be included on your resume, and then just have some different tools to customize your resume to best reflect who you are as an individual candidate, as a student, as a professional, and things like that. So basic components on a resume include like your contact info, which I can speak to my personal resume. At the top, I have just my name in the header, and then I have like contact information, like a LinkedIn profile URL, like an address, or an email. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have similar things like that. Yeah. And then I have an education section. So here I talk briefly about my high school experience, just like because I don't have as much experience since I'm a college student. So I talk about like where I went to high school and like my honors diploma. And then for my college experiences, I have my GPA, my major, my minor, my intended graduation date, things like that. I don't know if that's similar for you guys.
Yeah.
And then I move into like my job experiences, which I've had 3 different jobs on my resume, but I've had more jobs than that. But another important thing about resumes is just making sure to keep it like around one page. So I've really had to pick which job experiences are most important and most valuable to me where I'm at in my career kind of stage. So I have different job experiences that I've done, and then I have different tasks and responsibilities that I've had during each of those experiences. And then I also have some certifications that I've completed that are really relevant to my major. So things, in HubSpot or Udemy about marketing and email marketing and sales and things like that, things that are really important for me in my future career. I put those on there because I think that will really appeal to like employers and things like that. Also, I have some organizations that I'm involved in just because I feel like it shows a commitment to like being involved on campus. It shows that like I can maintain being involved in several different things, and like I can juggle a lot of different responsibilities. What do you guys have on your personal resumes?
I mean, I have the I'm bilingual, so that really helps. And then I also have a section for volunteer experience. So I know I had a professional from DuPont Circle Solutions look over my resume this summer, and she actually told me to change activities section to the volunteer section, because you can kind of frame things in a different light from activities to volunteer based on things that you've done. So that kind of helps me stand out amongst the crowd as having volunteer experience or just doing things for free to gain experience, things like that.
Yeah, I have a lot of like organizations on my resume, as well as like my skill sets and things like that, as well as volunteering, kind of like what you said, like that kind of helps me stand out as to like what I'm involved in, what I've done, community service, all of those things. So.
I talked to a recruiter for Aegis Worldwide, and she was just saying that a lot of college students may be kind of fearful of like including jobs that they may not feel like are as relevant to their future career. But even jobs, like even if you're a server or a host at a restaurant, that shows like different traits that you've demonstrated. It shows that you're responsible. It shows that you can manage your time. You have good people skills, good communication skills, things like that. And even that you can hold a job. So even if you're just a little bit maybe hesitant about including a job because you don't really feel like it's exactly what you're wanting to do in the future, you definitely should still include all the different experiences that you've had. And you can tailor them in a way that's going to be appealing to maybe a career in sales, even if you were a server.
I have something to add on to that. So, like, for personal experience, I I know, like, my only job until, like, my internship now, I only worked at my mom's daycare. So, like, that's, like, something totally, completely different from my major and minor. But when I went to the Career Center last semester to work on my resume, she basically was like, you should, like you said, you should put all of your, like, work experience, even though, you know, like, I worked with kids. That's, like, so totally different, but it does show, like, I have patience, and I can work with the parents, and I still can, like, teach the kids, you know? So, like, it still goes hand in hand with working, like, the workforce. But, like, I know at first I was like, I'm not going to put that. Like, I've only had one other job, so really I had no option but to put it. So, like, now I see, like, that the benefits it does have, you know, because working with kids is, like, one of the hardest things, honestly, especially younger kids, this generation, too. Like, they're a little more, you know, tougher, and they have more behavioral problems than what we did, I would say. So I do agree that you should just put every work experience, no matter what it is, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just about finding that balance between making sure that your resume is like still concise and straight to the point so that recruiters can kind of just like get a general overview of you, but also don't be afraid to like include all those different experiences because they do make up who you are as a candidate, as a student, as an individual, things like that. Another part of a resume, I don't personally have a personal statement on my resume, but a lot of students and, you know, people seeking careers do. It can be really beneficial when it's done well. I think for a personal statement, you really just have to figure out how to kind of summarize yourself in a really quick sentence that's concise but still detailed enough that it's going to be effective on your resume, right? You don't want to have anything that's going to be like pointless to put on your resume because you do have such a limited space. But I don't know if any of you guys have a personal statement.
I actually will kind of add on to that. I did take a class 2 semesters ago where we created personal statements through 3 descripting words. So we use that in our LinkedIn, and it could be something that's beneficial for a personal statement because we even sent out a survey and had people describe us from their own words, our good and bad qualities, our good or poor qualities. Let's put it that way. And then we took what they all said in like the top 3 and put them in our bios, and it does summarize who we are, but also from other people's terms. It's not us being snooty or having too much confidence or whatever in ourselves. It's because other people perceive us as this way. So it is comfortable to put on a resume.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just overall, when you're thinking starting baseline for a resume, you should really consider what the overall impression that you want to leave on your employer is. So maybe if you're a student that's super data driven and analytical, you want to provide like quantitative statements, you want to give specific numbers and percentages and things like that because that's the impression that you really want to give off. If you have a lot of people skills, maybe you want to talk about like how you've been a leader in certain organizations or you're really passionate about community service, things like that. So you really kind of just want to hone in on what exactly do I want to portray myself as, who do I want to portray myself as to employers, and what experiences, what organizations, what just like jobs have I completed that kind of show that version of myself. So overall, your resume should just be a really brief summary of you, your skills, and it can just help convince potential employers that you're going to be the right fit for the job that they're looking for.
Now I'm going to talk about just designing your resume. So first, we'll just hop into the visual appeal of it. So design does matter. I feel like I personally try to incorporate like design. I know like for a lot of jobs and stuff like that, when you're applying, they want this like bland type of resume, but I'm more of like my major is fashion, so everything is like, it has to look cute, it has to have this color, and it has to be like formatted good, but sometimes you have to like take in consideration like what the job is asking for, you know, so if they want that bland resume, then you just have to accommodate to them. So when designing your resume, it is important to use clear headings, consistent fonts, and then bullet points for readability. Many companies use applicant tracking systems to filter resumes. So use keywords from the job description to get past the systems, because that'll boost you ahead of everyone else when you have what they're looking for, honestly. And then imagine a resume cluttered with text versus one that's clean and organized. That'll just, once again, boost you up. You don't want to, like, put too much to where it's like throwing the job that you're applying for off. And so visual appeal can make that huge difference, honestly. And then I'm going to talk about creativity versus professionalism. So you really want to share insights on being creative while also being professional. So like going back to what I was saying about like me being a fashion major and whatnot, I like being creative, but I also have to put a form of professional in it. So I do personally believe that when designing a resume, it is okay to be creative to set you apart, but be mindful of too much color or graphics because it can be distracting. For creative fields, consider using a unique design, but ensure it remains professional. So for you guys, how did you guys keep your like resume professional but also creative? Like, did you have any like specific things that you did to like still include your own touch on your resume but remain professional?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, when I was designing my resume, I looked a lot at other examples of people's resume, whether that was like from honestly Pinterest or like Google, and just kind of saw what other people did, what I liked from what they were doing, what I didn't like. And then I kind of took different little bits and pieces and customized that into my resume. So maybe I liked the way this person did their header. I felt like it was really creative. I liked the color scheme that they used. So I incorporated that into my resume. And then I liked the way that they were formatting, you know, their experiences. So I just kind of looked at other people's examples and kind of put my own spin on it.
I honestly don't have my resume designed. Unfortunately, I am the bland kind of girl.
Which is okay.
I know. I haven't gone to apply to any jobs recently, so I haven't needed to use my resume. Yeah. However, that is on my to-do, I promise. But I even think Canva has some really good designs, especially since everybody can upload their own designs. Yep. You have a lot of input and different designs and different takes on it coming through. I do have a question for you, Shayna.
Yeah.
How do you feel about people putting pictures on their resume?
Ooh, that's funny that you said that because, like, my friend, I just seen her, I don't know if it was her resume or, like, a portfolio, but she had her picture on there, which it was, and I loved it, but it was, like, I personally don't know if that's what employers are looking for. You know, like, sometimes they're, like, they may be like, wow, you know, she's a little conceited, but also maybe, like, they just want, you want them to know what you look like, you know? But I like the idea. It's just, you never know. A lot of employers are, like, older, so they're so used to, like, the regular structure of a resume, so, like, no picture at all, no color, just black and white, you know? But I feel like now there's more employers becoming, like, our age, if that made sense. Wow, I jumbled my words. But a lot of bosses and stuff are our age, so I do feel like they may not expect, but be okay with, like, pictures and stuff like that. Now, I do say, like, I would personally include, like, a headshot, you know, like a professional one, of course. But I personally would be okay with it. I don't have a picture on mine just because it's not the norm, you know, like, it's not what we usually do. Do you guys have pictures?
I do.
You do?
Yes. Mine, okay, so mine's more plain like yours. It's like not any designs on there, no colors. It's literally black and white, so it's kind of boring. But when I was looking at resumes, because I did look at examples of resumes like Ashley did, and I have seen some people have photos on their resumes, like a headshot. So I have a headshot that I used on mine. And I feel like if it's professional enough, I feel like it's okay to put it on your resume. Yeah. Just, like, make sure it's, like, appropriate, obviously, and it's not just some sort of photo of you somewhere else doing something. I don't know, but
I feel like it also helps establish a little bit of a connection with the person who when you submit your resume, it is the first point of contact that you have with an employer or the person that is doing the hiring. So you ultimately want to present yourself in a way that is professional. So I think if you have a headshot and you do it right and you wear the right clothes and you look professional, it can be done in a right way. Yeah. But I know even people on LinkedIn don't use headshots for their LinkedIn profile. And that can kind of set them in a non-professional tone. Yeah. I know for me, I'm a photographer. So I have my photographer headshot as my profile picture on LinkedIn. Yeah. even that just helps people understand that A, I'm creative, B, I know how to work around a camera, and different things like that. So even you could implement different things like that, and it doesn't have to be a standardized business casual headshot that's classic like that. You can kind of add your own twist into it. But I don't know, I think it kind of helps create a relationship in a way.
Yeah, I know for like, I think my profile on LinkedIn, it's like from 4 years ago when I took my senior pictures, but it's in a form of a professional way, you know? So I know a lot of people that use their senior pictures, which I should probably update that. That's, I mean, I still look the same, but, you know, I'm tired of using the same ones. But I do feel that you should definitely use a professional picture.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to hop into top skills to include. So you want to include hard skills and soft skills. You want to encourage like tailoring skills to match job descriptions and provide examples. So by that, basically, say if a job is looking for something specific, you don't want to use skills that you would use for another job, or just how we tailor our resumes for a specific job. You don't want to include skills that don't relate to the job you're looking for. But kind of want to ask you guys the skills that you have on your resume, just for like a example of what, you know, to put on yours.
I can speak for that. So I think I definitely have a lot of leadership skills highlighted because I've had a lot of leadership experiences. So I talk in my skills section about like leadership and strong written communication because I've done like a lot of blog writing and things like that. And I also have completed like a Google Analytics certificate. So I have that listed and like some data analytics type skills. So I have a good mix of like, you know, time management and organization, but also some harder skills like what, you know, certifications and what can I technically do.
I don't specifically remember what skills I have on my resume, but I will say there is, I received a little bit of advice, and it was to not use all of the more basic skills that everybody else might have. Because, sorry, Ashley, but
it's okay.
Everybody may have time management on their thing, but can they really compete and have that time management? Yeah. Do they have that to back it up? Yes. I also know that typically you can kind of adjust your skills based on what job you're applying to too. So I think my skills section often is changing based on what I'm
absolutely
for.
I was actually going to talk about, you talked about a little bit the applicant tracking system, which it's really important that maybe a specific job description has, maybe they do have time management, or maybe they have like email marketing. And if you've done those things or you have those experiences, to incorporate those into your resume and to change your resume with every job that you're applying for, because that system is going to automatically ding, oh, this candidate has these skills, and it's going to get passed on. Honestly, some resumes may not even make it to a physical person. It's going to be like software that determines if they make it to the next stage. So making sure that your skills are reflecting what the skills of the job description is.
I know for my skills, a lot of it, because I've only had one job experience, but like I said earlier, because I work with kids, just about being patient and knowing how to really, believe it or not, work with like customer service. Like, I know that's not like a retail or like working as a server, but you still have to like communicate to parents about their kids, like, and be professional about the whatever is going on. I know like the parents I work with can be like quite challenging, you know, so it is kind of like at the same time being patient and have that customer service that goes hand in hand. But when breaking down the skills, there are two skills to account for. As I said before, the hard skills and the soft skills. So hard skills are specific. They are teachable abilities. For example, if you're in marketing, mention tools like, as Ashley said, the Google Analytics or Adobe Creative Suite. And then soft skills are equally important. These include communication, teamwork, and problem solving. So be sure to give examples of how you demonstrated these skills in your experience on your resume.
Okay, I am going to talk to y'all about customizing your resume. So this is super important and just kind of shows you how to stand out amongst the crowd and what things, items and experiences you can add to help you land that job or internship when standing out among other applicants. So for tip 1, we have customized for each job application. So we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but in job applications and descriptions, they'll kind of give some skills. Typically they say, oh, you need a bachelor's degree and XYZ experience. But they also list some skills that they want their employees to have, maintain, uphold, different things like that. So even just using your resume and, like we said, adding those skills, kind of switching them in and out, making sure you still have a well-balanced section of your skills, but also making sure you tailor that towards, oh, I know I want this job and I need to have very strong leadership or very strong communication skills. I know I have that. I can put that on there. I will say, although you want to tailor your resume and your skills towards that certain job, you want to make sure you're not lying.
Yeah.
Let's just be ethically correct here. You want to make sure that everything you're saying is true. You just can't list every single quality that you have every time you turn in a resume for a job. Tip 2, make sure you're including details and quantifiable success. So if you have something where your success has been determined by numbers, Ashley kind of talked about if you're a data person, including that. I know for my specific resume, I am a social media manager for an organization, and I have on there that following increased by 25%. That is something that's huge because they are able to see, okay, she actually does produce results. And this is kind of what we want in a person. So if you have those jobs or those experiences where you can put that quantifiable success, put it in there. Otherwise, if you don't have those, like Shayna working at the daycare, that's where your skill set would come in handy. And you can go into more detail with that. I will also say you don't want to include all of the details on your resume because you still want to have everything to be able to talk about in an application interview. So just kind of including those little key points, because ultimately you'll have those points and you should be able to go into more detail about what you've done and how you made a contribution to that organization. And then tip 3, we talked about this earlier as well, but if you're bilingual, make sure to include this because a lot of jobs actually want somebody that is versed in different languages as well. I know there are some jobs that specifically say they want you to be bilingual, but that does give you a step up if you are bilingual. If you're not, you're still pretty cool. You still can succeed in a job application on your resume. And then make sure to include any volunteer work or positions that you've had that allow you to use your skills. Just making sure you stand out. I know a lot of companies, specifically Salesforce is one. My mom used to work there, and they have days where they ask their employees to go out and volunteer. And if that is a part of the culture of the workplace that you're applying for, make sure that you make that evident, that your culture aligns with their work culture as well. And then tip 4, you can also talk about volunteer work and just giving back to the community and just different things that you've done within the community. Just making sure that you highlight that, yes, I'm a team player. I know what I'm doing. And just kind of making sure that everything you have on your resume is cohesive and just fits towards that job that you're applying for.
So now we are going to share some questions that our listeners and subscribers have asked us. And this is specifically about resumes. So if you guys are interested in learning more about building it or just advice, make sure you keep listening. So someone asked, what platforms do you recommend for building a resume? So we recommend using places and sites like Canva, Resume Genius, and there's also some other sites you can use. I know I've used a site before that I had to pay money for, so it really just depends on if you are wanting to spend that money. But there are free sites too. You just have to kind of do some research, look into that. But are there any specific sites that you guys use when building your resumes, or anything that you use as a go-to?
I will note that the Career Center through Ball State does allow VMOC. I
couldn't think of what it was called.
Yeah. VMOC gives recommendations on your resume. You have a certain amount of uploads, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But it allows you to put in your items and gives you a score and tells you how to improve and things like that. So that's typically what I build mine in. And And then next steps would be using something like Canva or different things like that to design it and actually put it into real use.
Yeah, I definitely like using Canva just because it's like super easy to use, and it's very like self-explanatory. I feel like everything's already like laid out for you there, and there's like templates that you can use, and there's just so many designs to choose from. So that's my go-to. But I know there's like other places as well that people recommend and people prefer, and that's totally fine. So someone also asked, how long should your resume be? So honestly, there's like a preference for 1 page when it comes to a resume, and that's just because you're supposed to kind of sum up your work experience and the things that you have done and been involved in and things like that. If you go longer than a page, it's just going to be very overwhelming for the employer, and they don't want to hear like your whole life story, honestly. They just want to know a quick summary as they're reading over that and just know what they're kind of going into, like with this interview, like who this person is that they're talking to or they're about to talk to.
Absolutely.
So
Sorry.
yeah. No,
and I
you're
think
fine.
that just especially as our demographic, as students looking for internships or entry-level positions, keep it at 1 page. As you get further in the career, search process, I didn't realize that if you've been a manager for like 20 years, your resume can be longer than a page after that. When you're looking for entry-level and like internships, it's best to keep it at 1 page. But as you gain more experiences and you're more, you've had more life experiences, more work experiences, it's okay to add on further on in your career journey. But what we're speaking to right now, students and just like kind of us, just keep it at a page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And then our last question of the day is, should I post my resume online? So that's honestly completely up to you. I know some people incorporate their resume on LinkedIn or other personal websites, maybe like a portfolio or something. I know LinkedIn actually has that resume like section, so you can now add that. So I need to add mine on my LinkedIn, but it's totally up to you. There's no like right or wrong. It's just really what you prefer on like sharing your resume. So if you want to send that out to an employer or just put it on your LinkedIn for people to look at, it's really whatever you want to do. So
I think there also is where you can create a personal website where you can talk about those accomplishments, especially for Shayna, I would probably say for you, design. So if you have fashion pieces you've designed and different things like that, that kind of is your digital portfolio. Yeah. So I know a lot of jobs, I will probably go into a social media marketing job. I'll have my websites I've created, my marketing campaigns I've created, graphics I've created, different things like that within a digital portfolio too. So that's another way that you can kind of put that online in a different space.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you guys added like a resume on your LinkedIn, or have you guys shared it in a different way, maybe on a site?
I'm trying to think. I think I have it on my LinkedIn.
I have it on my personal website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so to close today, we're going to just discuss some of the key takeaways. I know we mentioned a lot. Resumes are not a one-size-fit-all approach. So you have to be really intentional when you're selecting what to put on your resume, and you have to really sit and think about what I want to convey to employers. Design is super important, so think about making your resume creative but still professional, and it's not going to be overwhelming to employers. And then include the details, the community service, your language abilities, and just other quantifiable data, because that's just going to really help you stand out and set you apart from other candidates. It's also super important to personalize your resume to showcase your unique self and also to appeal to specific job descriptions. We really hope you guys enjoyed this episode and learn more about creating the most effective resume. Join us next time on the Pathways podcast for more insights on navigating your career.